the fence expert. Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge. It's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go. We're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys live again. Took a week off last week for the Memorial Day weekend, and I tell you what, it was kind of nice. Not gonna lie, actually. So my routine around here is we'll do this show for a while on Saturday morning, and Saturday afternoon I catch up on a little bit of work here at the office because it's quiet and no one else is here. So let's just get ahead a little bit. But it is nice to take a weekend off. So I took both Saturday and Monday off. So it was kind of a big deal. Hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend and a great shorter week this week. I'm working on a theory that if a holiday falls on a Monday, so if you're off work Monday for a holiday, the rest of the week is Mondays. And it's coming. I've been working on this for about a year, and it pans out. It's the week of a holiday week is always full of Mondays. So for whatever that's worth. So maybe you just take the whole week off and just start the next week. I don't know. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Coming to you live from the Expert Professional Wood Care Studios. Thank you so much, Caleb and Ashley. Caleb will be on with us here shortly to answer all of your fence stain and staining related questions. Of course, we can talk about fence as well. If you guys are watching live, welcome. If you guys are listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to podcasts, welcome. This is a recorded version of a live conversation I have most every Saturday at 10 a.m. Where we just sit around and talk about fences. I usually have guests on that are fencing related for the most part. Sometimes we have so Profit First for contractors comes to mind. So not technically fencing related, but we have guests on where we basically talk fence or we're talk fencing related content. Like I said, it's live every Saturday. If you are listening to the podcast, they tell me that it's great if you leave us a honest review, and it's even better if it's a 5-star review. So if you happen to be doing that and you happen to listen and think this is helpful, that would be great. All right, guys, start getting your comments in below. We'll do a little Q&A for a little while so Caleb is actually at baseball practice. One of the kiddos has baseball practice. Once he gets back in, we will start answering your staining-related questions. First and foremost, Canna was here well before the show started. Hey, guys, I feel like I've graduated from cereal and cartoons to coffee and Joe. My morning Joe with Joe. I like that. We should think about this. And then credit to Cannon for the phrase, your morning Joe with Joe. Although I don't like coffee, so that doesn't, I don't know. Protecting Your Radius podcast. What is up, Nathan? Saturday mornings with Joe. Let's go. Looking forward to seeing you next week with some black wire for our lacrosse field job for our city, Ozark Wireworks. Thank you so much for the shout out for Ozark Wireworks. Very true. So next Friday, I should be in the Tulsa area, dropping off some 10-foot black coated. We finally got done with a 10-foot galvanized temporary wire. So 11.5 gauge, 10-foot tall, heading up to our good friends up at Empire. And now we're going to start rolling 10-foot black for our good friends at Protecting Your Radius for the lacrosse field. It has been a busy couple months for Wireworks. I appreciate everyone that makes that possible. What is up? Charlie Newman says, hi, enjoy you sharing your experience. My question on a couple levels. Go for it. Ken said, had a great Memorial Day weekend fishing on the SS Glover. I am jealous. I watched, I saw the pictures come through on Facebook. Heard you've been there. Kind of really cool if you ask me. Yeah, it was a great experience. The weather turned inclement on our way back. We were like dodging and weaving through thunderstorms because he had like onboard radar on this thing. So jealous of your fishing day for sure. Looks like you guys had a great time as a family. All right, Charlie's got a couple questions. How do you set double gates without sagging? So a lot of that has to do with your frame. I mean, a decent amount has to do with posts. You got to start off with good posts set properly, but then a lot of it comes down to the frame. So we use a steel frame, 1.5-inch galvanized square tubing where we'll weld it to the appropriate size. We use shark hinges and shark latches to attach from the steel gate frame to our steel post. It's a 2.5-inch Schedule 40 post. And then we set them 3 foot deep. So 36 inches typically. If it's really loose, which we don't get really loose soil here, but I say that. We had one, which is making me think about this. We had one last week that was really loose soil for whatever reason. So we actually went a little bit deeper on that. But typically 3 foot deep gets us below the frost. So 30 inches or 6 inches deeper than your frost line is a general rule of thumb to shoot for. What is your go-to tool for removing posts stuck in concrete and some of your best tools? Well, so we've got a Bobcat MT100 that we typically just hook up to it and pull it out. If that doesn't work, we can bring out a big Bobcat we can bring out some equipment. Now, it's funny. So Mark and I were talking a little bit before the show started where while we're in Tulsa, I believe this next run, I'm going to also meet up with a guy from Oklahoma City that has a post pulling tool that we're going to check out here on the show. So stay tuned in the coming months for that content. We actually just got done recording a ton of content. So, Mark, how far out are we on content? It's at least a month, right?
Yeah, we have like 4 videos queued up.
Okay, so if we shot a video today, it would be a month before we saw it. So in the coming months, I will say, keep an eye out for that post-pulling video. Some of your best tools, well, that's the content that we just got done recording of some of our favorite tools that we happen to sell at ozfence.store. The first video, which depends on time, we might give you guys a preview of that, but the first video that comes out tomorrow will be about the banana clips, both metal and plastic, and then we're going to go into Apple Jacks and pumpkin claws and just all your favorite tools, all our favorite tools, and hopefully they become your guys' favorite tools. James, well, I thought that was somebody else. So James Blizdale. So I know a James Blaisdell. So anyway, what's up, James? Expert Products line is legit. Absolutely. Love offering my clients the best option in staining and wood care. Couldn't agree more. I've said this a lot before, just how we came to the Expert line of products. We had used others, and quite frankly, the smell was just really off-putting, both to me and the guys, because you got to wonder, if that chemical smell hits you in the face, like what is in it that is bringing that to you, but also to our clients and our clients' neighbors. Once you spray that, the smell is there for a while. So, we ordered Expert, at the time it was Stain Still Experts. We ordered some of their stain, of course, paid full price for quite a while for it, until finally we loved it. And I reached out to Caleb. We had become friends just through us buying the product, and talked about them coming on sponsoring the show. I love introducing people to brands that are legitimately good for our business, because they can be good for your business as well. And that's how this whole thing happened. But you're absolutely right. The Expert line of products is phenomenal. Canon said Expert product line is legit. We just pre-stained for the first time ever. So those were huge posts, 185 5x5 posts, 10 gallons of stain. Walnut looks fantastic. We'll make some good videos to document the process as we do. So I was watching that. So it's a pretty slick little dip tank you've got going there. And so, well, guys, check out Canon's videos. I believe it was in the Fencing Professionals Facebook page. Check it out. Charlie, you're very welcome. Good Life says, good morning. I have a couple of questions. Not sure if you want to get into that on this chat. Absolutely. Drop them in the comments. Okay. Yeah. Blaisdell. It's to simplify my lesson. Okay. James, you're the same guy I'm thinking about. The spelling threw me, but glad you guys are here. So if you guys do have any fencing related questions or want to talk shop, drop those in the comments below. We'll see when Caleb gets on here in just a few minutes. So he got over, the practice got over around 10, and then he was going to head home. So we got a little bit of time to kill here. I tell you what, let's look at the banana clip video. Let's see. We are going to share the screen. I'm sure this is riveting content for you guys. Banana clip. No, that's not it. Okay, here we go. Bring it up for you guys. Whoop. All right. We will all watch this together. Let's back it up. Here we go. What is up, everybody? Joe Everest, the fence expert. We got a lot of questions about the tools offered at ozfence.store. So we wanted to shoot a few videos to show you guys exactly how we would go about using them. And it stands to reason we would start with our most popular tool, the banana clip. Now, banana clips serve a pretty vital function in hanging chain link fence, and that is it lets you stand the chain link fence up for an extended runs of fence without worrying about it falling over before you get a chance to tighten the fence. Now, in years and generations past, when I was a kid, we would have made our own. And these are fine. I mean, it's a piece of 1 3/8. It's obviously been through life a little bit. We would have welded just some round bar onto it. It holds the chain link up. It does okay. It's a little heavy, a little unwieldy, but it did the job. If you don't have a fabrication shop or the inclination to weld up a couple dozen of these, enter the banana clip. Now, the key things about the banana clip, it lets you sit on the top rail while holding the chain link up like this. You would simply slide it in, twist it over, and it's going to hold the chain link tight to the top rail, but not so tight that it won't let it slip. Now, tip on these is you don't want to install them at the very end of the section towards where you're pulling, if that makes sense. So in this example, we're pulling in this direction. We've got our tie-offs here, we've got a loose end here, we're pulling this direction. I wouldn't want to put a banana clip too close towards this line post, or else it's going to hit that line post and not let the chain link pass past it. We would put one towards the far end, away from the pull, and then about 2/3 the way up the panel. 2 of these clips per panel holds the fence up, but also lets you pull it along to tighten it as you're tightening the fence. All right, guys, one feature I like a lot with Company Cam is they give you a map that has pins for all your projects. I've got a customer that wants to see cedar, pre-stained, walnut fences that we've done recently to get an idea how they look. I pulled up the map icon on my Company Cam project folder, and it's going to show me all of them, but it only shows 50 at a time. So this is 50 of the 420. But because we had the labels that I showed you guys last time, I know there's a label for pre-stained walnut, and it'll show me all the projects that are pre-stained walnut. I can simply click them. I can grab the address and send that to him, or I can download a few photos as a montage, send those to him as well. Company Cam is great for contractors because it makes my job and your job a whole lot easier. Now, the nice thing about the steel banana clips is they have this cutout, and for what that is for, so you take a piece of pipe, you'd insert it in and it'd hold it up so that if you're doing 8-foot extended height fences, you could use a piece of pipe at whatever length to help push the chain link up, click it onto the top rail. So again, you take your chain link, you put the banana clip in, pull it up, hook it onto the chain link, and we're done. Again, 2 of these per section. Start near the line post, away from the pull, and then 2/3 up the panel, giving yourself plenty of room to pull out the slack on this chain link. You'll be set up for success. But Joe, why do you offer plastic banana clips? You may be asking yourself. Well, that, my friend, is for when you have vinyl coated chain link fence. So this metal clip, now it's powder coated and it's nice and shiny because this one's brand new, but as you use it, the powder coating is likely to chip and fall off. So we're worried about the straight edges, the sharp edges on the steel banana clip, scuffing and scratching that brand new coating on a vinyl coated fence. Plastic banana clips significantly lessen, never say never, but significantly lessen the chance that we're going to scuff the top of that vinyl coated chain link, the top rail. They work in the same way. You would insert it into your diamond, pull up, hang on to your top rail, and voila, no falling down chain link. That's a professional term. And guys, the walkthrough is as easy as that. 2 per panel. Steel is the preferred tool for this job unless you're dealing with vinyl coated, in which case plastic would be the way to go. For more information to find them, check out ozfence.store.
All right. And that would be tomorrow's clip. So you guys get the early preview. We really do sell just an absolute ton of those banana clips. We just ordered another, I think 3,000 or 4,000 of them in. We were running pretty low. So if you guys install chain link fence, they're a great option. Now they're available at ozfence.store. They're also available on SWI. There's several sites that they're available from. You can't really go wrong with those. James has a good point. So they need to be orange and called orange peel clips. Not a bad idea, but we would need to find some ways to innovate them a little bit, to make them different enough to where we weren't just like blatantly using the same design. I do like where your head's at though. Orange peel clips. Dwayne had a question during the video. Most strip for under fence. Yeah, so I've seen these products, and I've talked to some folks about the products. It's a decent option. And actually, this question came in on one of the videos that we had, one of the reaction videos earlier this week about keeping grass and vines from growing up in chain link fence. Most strips under the fence are absolutely a great idea. There's a few different products in the marketplace. There's one that's like a plastic polycarbonate type. There's another one that's a metal, like a powder coated metal. Both seem like pretty solid options. That way grass doesn't grow up through your chain link fence. Not a bad idea. Jay had a question, or Jason, I'm sorry, here in upstate South Carolina. What's up? Upstate South Carolina. So we were, I guess it's South Carolina. So we've got some family in Aiken. It's down kind of by Augusta. Question I have is, how do you handle doing a fence where the customer is concerned with animals digging in and out, other than a solid concrete foundation border? Yeah, so they're probably called different things. We would call those a rat wall, for the express purpose of, back in the day, not letting rats crawl under fences, I suppose. Certainly one way to do it would be this solid concrete foundation under the fence. Sometimes we'll do, so we've done some extended height fence weaving over on Ozark Wireworks because the bottom 2 foot, so we might do a 10-foot wire because 2 foot of that wire is going to get buried for this exact reason. I've heard of that. I've heard of guys, about guys digging 2 foot off the fence and laying in some 2 foot chain link. So cutting 4 foot chain link in half and laying it, burying it, reseeding over it, so that if a pet were to try to dig under the fence, they would hit the chain link and not be able to dig past it. A few different options. None of those have I tried. So we don't typically, we usually have the conversation with the customer is like, if you've got a pet that is so determined, or an animal is so determined to get in or out of this fence that they're willing to dig their body size under it, I don't know that we're here to help, right? So never say never and never say always, right? So we can offer some solutions, but I don't want you to think that this is a foolproof way of preventing animals from getting under this fence. And sometimes the solution is knowing when to walk away, right? Is knowing that, there might be some unrealistic expectations there, and knowing that frustration is the result of unmet expectations. We don't want our project to lead to frustrations, because anymore it's really simple for those frustrations to end up on social media or somewhere like that. So if we had a project where the client said, I'm wanting you to bury some fence or pour one of these solid concrete foundations because I don't want any animals climbing under my fence, whether my animals or neighbors' animals, maybe that's not the project for us, because to say with 100% certainty that we are not going to allow animals in and out, I don't think is realistic. Now, I'm sure it's been done, and I'm sure it can be done again. But part of this is knowing when to walk away, sort of thing. But those are solutions I've seen. The solid concrete, the burying 2 foot, so buying chain link fences 2 foot longer than the fence. So if it's a 6 foot fence, 8 foot wire, bury it 2 foot in the ground, which would be a wild proposition, digging a 2 foot trench down the fence line, or digging 2 foot out from the fence and laying an independent piece of 2 foot chain link there. Both those are pretty labor intensive, and I don't know that the client would want to pay, if we're charging properly for our labor, would want to pay for that much labor. But decent options. It's a great question, Jason. It really is. If you guys have fencing questions or fencing comments, drop them in the comments below. Let us know you're here. We got quite a few people watching right now, both on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you are watching, let us know you're here. And it actually doesn't show us who on LinkedIn is watching. Now we can see your comments, but we can't see how many folks are watching. Like Dwayne's question about most strips for into the fence came from LinkedIn. So if you guys are watching, let us know you are watching. So also, let's do a little bit of a check-in, see how business is going in your guys' neck of the woods. Here in the Midwest and in Southwest Missouri, it is absolutely on fire. We like to know where we are in the schedule, right? And right now we're probably 6 to 8 weeks out. I say probably because we're also right in the middle of spring, and we've got scattered thunderstorms for the next week in the forecast. So 6 to 8 weeks is where we like to stay in the middle of summer. In peak season, 6 to 8 weeks is where we like to stay. So if we start getting close to that 6-week mark, when we hit 6 weeks, we'll start watching it. 7 weeks, we'll start watching a little bit closer. When we hit the 8th week out, being booked 2 months out, is when we start to adjust our prices. So typically we would bump them by 10%, see if that slows down. If it brings that back down to 7 weeks, we'll keep an eye on it. But if we stay at 8 weeks out, then we'll bump it to 15 or 20% just to try to keep the project flow in line. Now, I absolutely understand there are contractors out there that love to stay months booked out. You know, there's guys right now in the fence Facebook groups that are booked out for the rest of the year. One way of doing it, I absolutely understand. For us, well, one, customers don't like the answer when you're much further out than a couple months, and we get a fair amount of business because we say the answer is 6 to 8 weeks. Where there's competitors in our marketplace that are 3 or 4 months out right now. Couple things going on with that. One, I would argue that the market is telling them that they're underpriced for the value that they're performing, right? So that there's such a great value that people are willing to wait 3 or 4 months to have their fence installed. They could probably stand to raise their prices, right? But to each their own. Like I said, I had a conversation week before last with a guy, and it was our average project right now is about $8,400, $8,500. It's like $8,480. Call it $8,500 average project right now. So his project was well above average. It was a 5-figure project. And the question was, how far out are you guys? So, well, right now we're about 6 weeks, 7 weeks out. We don't tend to stay more than 8 weeks out. We like to keep it in that 6 to 8 week. He said, well, I'll tell you what, I've called 2 other guys and 2 other companies, and they were much further out. Let's start moving forward. We got the contract and the deposit and all that simply because we weren't so far out. Something to think about. And I understand there are multiple lines of thought on this, right? But for us, 6 to 8 weeks, but it's wild that we're already there. And it's the first part of June. It's the 3rd of June right now. So usually we would see the schedule start filling up in July. We start hitting that 8-week mark. So I don't know. Interesting. How are you guys seeing it in your market? Jeremy is here. What is up, Jeremy? Welcome, welcome. Al Martins, hello. We were just talking about what you and I talked about yesterday. Cheers. Good to see you here. Ken says, I like the idea of using wire or chain link like an apron in front of the fence with gravel on top to secure and hide. Easy to install and works. I'm also a fan of a good hot wire. Both are good solutions. Protecting Your Radius podcast says, on fire in Oklahoma. Our commercial security projects have really dialed in. So we, when was this? This was last week. We went and picked up a bunch of temporary fence from a site. It was a ton of temporary fence, and it was around, it is a amusement park, a tourist amusement park, and they had just spent in the ballpark of $8 to $10 million renovating their parking lots and expanding their parking lots. And we had this conversation on the truck ride back, is that, listen, like, commercial right now is crazy. And you got to think that these people are really dialed into what their people are wanting, what they think their people are going to want continuing through the summer. And they felt confident enough about where our economy is and how consumer spending's going that they would invest another $8 to $10 million on a parking lot project. Now, it's expansion. It was warranted. I'm not saying it's willy-nilly, but of all things, they're planning on so many people coming that they've doubled their parking lot space. They've put new, ticket booths in. They've done a whole remodel, a whole expansion, just waiting for more people to come. And that's one instance. We also do work for a large outdoor retailer that is spending significant money in expansion and bringing more product lines to the market. So I don't know. Radius, Protecting Your Radius is right that it seems like everything's white hot in commercial right now. And this is typically commercial spending. We typically see it, I don't want to say soften, but you see it slow down in uncertain economies where they won't go on, they won't go through building expansions. They won't go through massive line remodels. They won't go through any of that during uncertainty because they just don't know. They want to keep a lot of their funding safe and secure so that if we do slow down, that they've got they got funds in savings. They got some powder that's dried to get them through. So I think it's a good sign that we see these massive spending projects going on. That comment is referring. Oh yeah, so Canada was talking about aprons with gravel on top. Absolutely. Also, training dogs away from their bad behavior is the best option. That's fair, but it's a little easier just to blame the fence guy, right? So we had a project once. This lady. Now, I wasn't involved in the sales process. It was my dad, but I can imagine how the conversation would have gone if this had been brought up. So she called in a few weeks after the project was done and said her cat kept getting out. Said she put the fence up to keep her cat home, and her cat kept getting out. It was a 6-foot privacy fence. Said, ma'am, your cat could climb that fence if it were 10 foot tall. You're not keeping a cat inside a fence. I don't know what world we're living on here, but it is easier to blame the fence guy than to, take responsibility for your pets. Ken says Q2 has been good. Q3 is always the best, followed by Q4. Completely agree. Only 34% of our business happens in the first 5 months, 42% of the fiscal year, but only 34% of the revenue. I bet most companies are similar. Yeah, Q2 is always slow, or Q1 is always slow. You're wrapping up from Christmas spending. People are paying off Christmas spending credit card bills. Q2 starts to warm up, and then Q3 and 4 are your busiest times of the year, which is, like I said, I'm surprised to see we're already at our 6 to 8 week comfort level in early June. We're not even all the way through Q2 yet, and we're already there. So interesting to see what Q3 will bring. I like your analytics there. All right, guys, I see down in the, do we call this a waiting room or a lobby? Anyway, where our speakers hang out, the one, the only, Caleb Roth. So, guys, welcome with me, Caleb, to the show. Caleb, how are you?
Hey, Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. Coming in loud and clear.
Oh, I like the new look, man.
Yeah. This is, Mark has done some work on this, and it looks really nice.
Improvements.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. How is Caleb doing?
Fantastic, man. Better than I deserve, and I appreciate you bringing me on today.
No, of course. How is baseball?
Always good. We won last night a doubleheader, 17-5, and then 31-7. So our little guys and girls are getting after it.
I love it. We're still in the age range. So Jackson's playing in a 6U team, and 6U still. They don't keep score. They don't get out. Like I don't.
We keep score.
This
we do
is
it
soft.
anyways. We do it anyways.
You need to. You need to. We started having some fun with this. So the way it's supposed to go is each kid hit. Well, like we're just starting coach pitch. So they get balls pitched to them. If they don't hit them, they get to hit them off a tee. Okay. Mm-hmm. But then they're supposed to just run to first, and then run to second, and then run to third, and then like each cycle, right? We just started sending them. Like, if they get to third, just run on home. Just go get it. Trying to get that spirit into them.
Yeah, we got them hitting home runs, man. I mean, they're getting after it.
Nice. What age range is it?
I've got, 4 to 6, and then up to about 10-year-olds.
Okay, so 6U and 10U. Nice. It's always fun, though. It is until it starts getting hot. I remember how this went last year. Like, July, they're not having fun anymore. It's hot. They want to sit and drink water.
And it'll get them tough. We can recruit fence builders from a T-ball team in July.
Absolutely. Jason says, very good points. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome, Jason. Jace Blaisdell says, ideal fence is consistent at 8 weeks out with 3 team member crews. Residential installs only. So, Caleb, we were talking about just kind of how things are looking across the country as far as how booked out people are. Mm-hmm. And it's sounding pretty consistent. Nathan over in Oklahoma, over in Tulsa, was saying it's white hot there. I was saying we're in our 6 to 8 week zone right now, which is where we want to be in peak season. We don't want to ever be any more than 8 weeks out. Sounds like James is also in that same 8 week out time frame. Ken says, Coach Roth, do like the name there. No more 10 run rule. That's a booty kicking. Yeah, you guys took him to town on that. So, Caleb, why don't you give us an update? How are things going over at Expert Stain and Steel?
Well, everything's going well. I mean, I guess like everybody, we're working hard, getting a lot done. Got our sights on the future.
Absolutely.
I see no recession that some people claim, like you guys were talking about earlier. Seems to me everything is going really smooth.
Well, yeah, we talked about for a little bit. So after Nathan's comment about commercial being really dialed in and hot, I was talking about we were doing some projects for a large amusement park where they did like an $8 to $10 million parking lot expansion renovation. I was like, if this place is willing to spend that kind of money on a parking lot, they seem pretty secure in their outlook of the economy throughout the end of the year, that they're just expecting a ton more people to show up than they have in years past.
Or they expect the dollar to crash and they're putting all their money into infrastructure. You could look at it both ways, but yeah, I think everything's strong.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't really see any. I think just what happened was all the free money's gone. No more crypto millionaires and no more people can buy a house and flip it and make $400,000 on it. And those things aren't real money anyways. Those are unrealistic. So.
Well, that's the thing. Talking about housing, so James was talking about residential fence. So on a residential side, we follow new home starts. Mm-hmm. It's just something that we watch. We keep an eye on because it tends to tell us. It seems like they're putting these houses up faster and faster, but we're typically 6 months behind new housing starts, plus or minus. So if we see new housing starts dip today, we know in 6 months from today we're probably going to see a residential slowdown. They keep going up. The new home starts there's no end in sight for these. And I really expected with this whole lumber talks, everyone was waiting for lumber to come down. It hasn't come down in a meaningful way. Like it's a little bit here, a little bit there, but nothing that will make an impact on anyone's budget. I almost expected that to affect new home starts because obviously in the United States, new homes are lumber intensive, but they're still cranking out, and people are buying them. I mean, they're building whole new neighborhoods in the area I live in, and they are selling them when they're at 75 to 80% complete, so that these people can pick the colors of their walls and finishes on stuff. They're not even hitting the market; they're pre-selling them all.
We are seeing same stuff, same thing, but we are seeing some increases. I mean, we're seeing prices start to creep its way back up.
Okay, in lumber.
I know steel cold rolled steel just went up, I think 36% or something. I got a notification on. So
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I follow what they're talking about steel increases. So I think everyone in the fencing industry got an increase letter from one of the major national retailers talking about how steel was going up 6 to 8%. Well, now that I'm over on the manufacturing side, so we buy coiled steel. We buy just smooth steel. We haven't seen it on the manufacturing side. We haven't got any notices from the cold galvanizing steel mills that there's any sort of increase going on. So I don't know. Now, and that's wire, right? So wire and tube are two completely different areas of the steel sector, but I don't know. I mean, they're bound to be related, though.
Well, let me read something that I got to you 3 days ago, and I'm glad I got the number right, from a metal bucket manufacturer. It says, for quarter 3, 2023, July 3rd, a price increase will be implemented based on increasing cost of cold rolled steel for all cold rolled products. For cold rolled steel related products, 24, 26, 28 gauge, there will be a price increase of 14.75%. Prices for cold rolled steel increased over the last quarter 36.5% compared to the quarter before. The price increase will be effective with shipments on or after July 3rd. The steel supply on all gauges is good and demand is taking a turn upward. So I think the key word there is demand is going upward. And so we'll just increase the price. But
Right.
I mean,
yeah, because they said
that's what a lot of
supply's
people
good.
say.
So this isn't a supply issue. But hey, more people are wanting it, so I guess we'll charge more for it.
Well, pretty much any honest rep that we talk to that work for big organizations, big raw material providers, or big lumber companies, they say, well, the demand's fine. We're throttling. We want to keep the price up. So, that's the way it
Well,
goes.
So there's a lumber manufacturer that specifically does Western red cedar pickets. So what was 2018, 2019, they shut down like 6 mills across the United States. And then the following year they said, hey, supply just isn't here, guys. We just don't have the capacity to take care of all this demand. Prices are going to have to go up. Like, well, no, kid, that's because you shut them down last year. Yeah. No, I bet you don't have as much production when you shut them. It's crazy how this works, that you kind of create your own little demand curve here. But I don't know.
Let's make half as much with half as many people and make twice as much profit.
And we'll just charge more for it because we say we don't have the capacity.
That's it.
There's something there. There's something there. And this digital armage says manufacturers the bucket manufacturers can always claim their costs are going up even if they aren't going up. So that's the thing, is like you can follow commodity markets to some extent and get an idea, but there isn't like a cold rolled steel index, right? Like there's nothing you can watch like that shows you. So they can say, hey, our costs have gone up this much, and as long as their competitors also follow this same talking point, everyone just assumes it's true. And I think over the last 3 years, post-pandemic, through the pandemic and now in post-pandemic, I think it's easier for people to say that. Like, hey, listen, we just don't have the production capacity. It's going up again. And people have gotten used to hearing that, and they just go with it. But I tell you what, right now, transportation specifically is absolutely getting killed. They're scrambling to find loads to put on trucks to move. The ports are the Port of Los Angeles. I was listening to a podcast. The Port of Los Angeles now has the least amount of ships waiting to be unloaded that they've had in like the last 20 years. Now, that's for a few reasons. So a lot of these are going to Texas. So Texas is getting a lot of these freight shipments now to unload because the Port of LA or just ports in California in general.
Yeah, you got to have a brand new truck to unload there. I think there's a lot of crazy rules they put on.
There's that. There's also Prop B. So this is our House Bill. I don't know House Bill 8, HB 8, where basically, HB 8 talks about subcontractors. So as a business, you cannot hire an independent contractor that is in the same line of work as you are, which means that trucking company, you can't have independent truckers. They have to work for the company. So that's obviously...
You got to pay payroll taxes, man.
Right. That's exactly what it is. Unless you're, there's a ton of exemptions. So go figure, unless you're like Uber or Lyft, they went ahead and carved out exemptions for those guys. Sure. But now here's the scary thing. So that's in California, which, it's easy to talk about California when you're sitting in Missouri and Tennessee, but they're talking about now bringing that to the national level as something called the PRO Act, a version of this. But the thing with the PRO Act is it doesn't have exemptions carved out. And so what it says, and again, it has the ABC test, and just ABC just talks about how if you pass A, you go to B, if you pass B, you go to C. But B is you cannot hire an independent contractor that's in the same line of work that your business is. So if we were a general contractor, we could hire, we could hire concrete, we could hire framers, we could hire this, that, and the other, because they don't build buildings, they are a component of the buildings. But as a fence company, we couldn't hire an independent contractor whose main line of work is building fence. We're in the same industry. So I think this is something we really need to pay attention to. But again, all of this is reasons why you're not seeing any trucking coming out of California, or significantly less. Supply chain right now is completely caught up. I was talking, here in Springfield, we've got a trucking outfit called Prime, and they're one of the largest
trucking companies in the United States now. They've got like 9,000 reefer units that this guy was telling me the other day. And they are looking for, I mean, they're talking to us at Wireworks, and, you know, we send 3 to 4 shipments a month. Like, we're not a massive quantity deal. And they're like, hey, listen, if you got anything that needs to move, you let us know. We could have a truck there likely the next day. Interesting. But warehouses are full. Everyone's stocked up after the pandemic. Now everything's full. But yeah, these manufacturers are still saying, hey, listen, it's hard to get a hold of this stuff. So anyway.
Yeah.
Front Rock Fences is here. Sold another stain job. Love Expert Stain. I need one of those hats. I bet Caleb knows somebody that could get you one of those hats.
You got to call and talk sweet to somebody that answers the phone, man.
Cannon says, but this is why free market is the only way. They can increase, so talking about bucket pricing, but competition keeps them fair. Price fixing is very hard to pull off. I think there's some conspiracy, but I do think there is some artificial inflation to help keep comps in line with COVID years. So, agreed.
I agree, but
the problem is, the further up the food chain you go, the less suppliers there are, and the more likely it is. Collusion's not the word, but the more likely it is that the prices are very much the same.
Joe, if the biggest wire manufacturer on the planet raises their price 6 times what it costs right now, so instead of $1, it's $6, and you have a little manufacturing company, are you still going to sell yours for $1?
Well, that's the thought, right? Is like, if they're going up 6, I bet we could go up 4 and
$5 and a nickel.
Yeah, still be competitive, but
it's not collusion. It's
right.
But it is.
And they don't even have to announce prices, right? Like, everyone knows where everyone's pricing is because our customers share pricing with everybody. Right. So, it was our Wireworks. I was like, I'm done with this cloak and daggers business. I just put our pricing on our website. I'm like, listen, you don't even need to get my prices from our customers. You can go straight to my website and see what it is. Everyone knows what everyone's price is. Right. And that's the thing. So, and we see this when we're on the install side where everyone thinks their pricing is like, we heard this a lot about my salesmen, right? They're like, well, why would I put a quote tool out there where my competitors can figure out what my price is? Like, here's the thing. Top 3 competitors in your marketplace. You know what they're priced at, right? Within a range. Yeah, I know what all of them are priced at. So do you think there's a pretty good chance they know where you're priced at already? Before you put this quote tool out, before you give your customers access to pricing information without going through you as a gatekeeper, do you think your competitors already know? Yeah, I guess so. Everyone knows. Everyone knows what each other's pricing is. So I don't know. I think there's a level to this to where, to your point. So if the price goes from $1 to $6, everyone else has a decision to make. It depends on how big the person is that went up, right? So if they are the market mover, if they are like you said, the largest manufacturer in the United States says 6, everyone else goes, well, yeah, I guess we could go to 4, 5 and a quarter. I mean, we'll still be competitive.
In 1995, you could drive down the road and you could find a rare automobile sitting in somebody's yard and you could go buy it for pennies. You could find a 1959 Gibson Les Paul guitar and you could talk to the old guy who's got it and you go, I'm going to have $300 for it. Today, people can get on the internet and they know that guitar is worth $200,000 or they know that a fence costs X amount of money. So I really I think that's just kind of old world. To protect your pricing, it's kind of old world thought because now everything's public.
Everyone knows.
Internet.
Yeah, everyone knows, and that's the thing is like because for an installation company, even before social media and before the internet, customers shared pricing with other contractors because they'd say, well, brand X gave me a price for this. You're at $6,500. They gave me a price for $5,200, and they'd show you the proposal. Like, here you go. Oh, interesting. Okay, so they're at $5,200. There was that before, but you're right that the internet, social media has just brought that
it supercharged that.
Yep. I remember when I was in the fence business, man, I had a friend who would go, this was back when a pine privacy fence was about $13 a foot. That was the rate in Nashville. And a friend of mine who had a fence company would say, "Oh, I'm expensive. I'm $22 a foot. I'm not going to give this stuff away. I mean, that's my price." Mm-hmm. And then you'd see one of you'd bid a fence, and he'd go, "Well, I'm going with this other guy. He's $13 a foot."
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, man.
It's all a game. It is absolutely all a game.
Yeah.
As I can't say I've not heard this was the law or whatever. Fence companies can't hire fence subs. Yeah, California's AB 5 was Assembly Bill 5, and so then you can also look up the PRO Act. So it's in California they've carved out exemptions for like ride share, also for like Grubhub and DoorDash. So the big companies have all carved out exemptions, but look up the PRO Act. So this is something that is scary if the idea takes hold and it ends up becoming a deal to where, you couldn't hire subs. So you'd have to hire them in-house. So
I think people would come up with something. They'd come up with a workaround.
The trucking industry in California has nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like independent truckers now have moved to Nevada and Texas.
Right.
So there's no independent truckers in California. Now, well, I say that. You can, and as an independent trucker, you can take a load into California, but you can't bring a load back out. So
yeah, but I think in the fencing industry, wouldn't they just find some way around it? We just hire everybody, right? You have a part-time job with me.
Sure. Yeah, but you'd have to be able to pass the independent contractor test. You know what I mean? You would have to be able to give them, schedules. They'd have to use your equipment.
First, you'd have to get audited, right? Somebody would have to audit you, and so many people would go against the rule until they get audited, and you'd hear, "Oh, Larry got popped," and I mean, it's the same way. Guys not paying sales tax and things like that. I think it would just come down to, it would just create this huge black market, right?
Yeah.
Government overreach would create a black market, making everyone a criminal.
Yeah. I think, so to your point, I bet there are some independent trucking contractors running around in California.
Guaranteed.
But I don't know. Something to think about. Something to keep an eye on.
It's terrible to think that you would that they would turn you into a criminal doing what has been done legally and morally and ethically for the last 100 years.
Well, and that's the thing is when you look at this, the question is, where's the harm? Like, what are we protecting citizens against? Specifically with the independent contractor thing. What does it matter? Like, there's no inherent harm here by having an independent contractor come build your fence. I mean, as well as I do, a lot of times the independent contractors are the cream of the crop when it comes to builders. They've done so well working for a company that they've gone out and invested in their own equipment, and now they're working for themselves through these other fence companies. But these are the guys that arguably do some of the best work. So by keeping them out of the market, it really makes you wonder, like I said, what is the harm? What are we trying to prevent here?
Well, we could always go from Ozark Fence to Ozark Contractor.
Yeah, you'd have to engage in some other stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure there's always ways around it, but something to keep an eye on though, because right now we don't have to work around anything.
Yeah,
right. We
can focus on our business.
Right.
So this is another thing like COVID, to where we no longer focus on our business. In our business, we have to focus on all the rules and regulations just to
remain compliant.
Yeah, compliance. Wow.
Ken says this is when other competitors enter the market and begin bringing pricing down, or alternatives in general. There's something to it, but I believe in free market. I absolutely agree, Ken. I mean, I think free market is the way to go. Absolutely. I mean, this is the whole Wireworks thing. Like, we started Wireworks because we believe it's a better option to what we were receiving as a product prior. So that's the beauty of the free market, is we were able to enter it. Listen, it only takes money. There was not a lot of compliance hoops to jump through. There was not government agencies to get approved by. The free market's great and it works. My fence life, what is up? How are you? Some people, it's all about price. Some people, it's all about relationship. And some people just want the best quality and don't care about price or relationship. They're just worried about reputation. Absolutely agree. That's the thing is, you get, if it was only ever about price, you'd never see these premier businesses in anything. I mean, you wouldn't see Maseratis get sold. You wouldn't see mega mansions get built. You wouldn't have Louis Vuitton. I mean, it's
Ferrari's selling just as many cars as they always have.
Yep.
Maybe more.
Yep. Maserati is not hurting. I saw one in front of a dental practice yesterday that I went in to meet with someone. I was like, this whole dental thing is not a bad deal. If the dentists are driving Maseratis now, either teeth have gotten more expensive or Maseratis have gotten cheaper. And I don't think Maseratis have gotten cheaper. Ken Johnson says, leave it to California. They're just going to move over the Tennessee and do what needs done. Absolutely. California, it's you hear about obviously folks moving away from California just because of regulation and just general not great to get along with. But then they start getting elected to these city officials and in county and state governments and start bringing a lot of that to those areas. And at some point you got to stop and say, wait a minute, there's a reason why everyone left or everyone is leaving. Let's not spread that, right? Let's try to contain that a little bit, but leave it to California indeed. Kasurk Distributors, what's up, Chris? How are you? Hey, guys, happy Saturday from Philly. What is up, Mr. Caruso? So, Caleb, we're in spring, coming into summer, and one thing that I've been using a lot from you guys is it a bug repellent? What is the technical term for it?
So you're talking about what we used to call our citronella oil.
Citronella. Mm-hmm.
So it is now a blend of 5 oils, and it is we call it natural defense.
Okay.
So what the goal of that product is basically just whether you add it into your stain as an additive or whether you mix it up in water and spray it on the fence before you stain, because maybe staining's not in the budget just yet. The idea is we want to start the preservation process early, keeping bugs and things like that off your fence. So what's the saying that I think the saying is earthquakes, hurricanes, and tornadoes get all the credit, but termites do more damage than all of them combined, right?
I believe that.
So we just want to do something that makes the wood uninviting to wood-boring insects, wood-eating insects, and it's probably going to help with mosquitoes along the way. And so if we put that in the fence, keep the bugs out, and just makes it uninviting. The neighbor's fence looks a lot better. It's regular old yellow wood.
Well, listen, when we're building security fences, that's all we're doing is we're moving them down to the next property. Same thing with what you're doing with the natural defense.
Yeah.
So you can also dilute it in water. So the way we love using it is we dilute it in water in spray bottles. And so we'll spray the yard, we'll spray the kids with it before they go out when the bugs get really bad. It is a great repellent for sure.
You'll to make that go better for you, Joe, add just a drop of Dawn dish soap in there with it.
Okay.
You just need something, a surfactant that's going to work as a emulsifier to help it stay. It'll stay in solution that way instead of having to shake it all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the idea. Really, the idea is to help a contractor stay in the backyard more often that does staining. So if you can't afford staining because you just paid $4,000 for a new fence, maybe a contractor can come in for very low cost for under $100 and do a quick application of that to get the ball rolling on keeping the fence preserved or the deck preserved. Mm-hmm. And then, sorry, Joe, there's a ton of echo, and I don't know where it's coming from.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, and that's it. We want to create a way to do recurring revenue for people and provide a service that the citronella oil does.
The recurring revenue is a huge component of this, and we talked about it a lot there at Staining University.
this earlier this year. And I mean, there's people that pay a significant amount of money for insect repellent, or just to keep bugs out of the yard and bugs away from their decks, away from their fences. It's a really big industry, and people are willing to pay good money for that, as long as there's good value there. I'm not saying it's you don't want to present anybody with smoke and mirrors. You want to bring them good value, but if you can, there is a market for that. Absolutely. But yeah, no, Caleb, I'm not getting an echo when you talk. I'm not hearing anything on our end.
It's crazy. It's been going on the whole time, but I'm tough, man. I'll work through it.
So you can use it. You can blend it in with a stain, which gives you a competitive advantage. So one of the things when you're in business in a marketplace that has multiple contractors is you're trying to find what your unique selling proposition is, right? And this is one of the ways that you can separate yourselves from the other contractors in the area doing staining work is, we can offer this add-on. It's not included, but we do have an add-on that will prevent damage due to insects. It also has a result of it makes the rest of your yard also less inviting to insects as well. And that's your unique selling proposition. That is what you can offer the clients that no one else in your market can.
Keeps the woodpeckers out, because the woodpeckers are looking for the boring bees in the fence. So
Yep.
it helps. I think those are great benefits, but the main benefit is how many jobs do stain contractors lose because they said, well, your quote is higher than I can afford right now. We'll do it in the fall. Fall comes around and they forget all about it. The fence never gets stained. The deck never gets done.
Yeah. They say, well, it's fine. It's been that way all year. It's fine.
Well, give me $39 a month, and we'll go ahead and we'll start treating it now. And when you're ready and you can afford the staining service, we'll go ahead and we'll give that to you at a discounted rate because you're in our club or whatever.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it, and I think that's a great way for contractors to just start that process and get the wheels turning about how do we get a customer, maintain a customer for life, and maybe get some recurring revenue along the way.
Recurring revenue is huge, and we've talked about this before. So if you can envision a day where you sell your business, and I would argue all businesses, you should be able to envision that day. Any business should be able to envision that day. Whether you're selling it to your kids, whether you're selling it to a stranger, whatever the situation is, you're selling this business. That is the end game here. When you're valuing the business, recurring revenue has a large part to do with the valuation of your business.
A multiplier, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. Because if you think about it, if you're an incoming buyer that maybe doesn't know anything about the business, you'd say, okay, well, so you did $7 million this year. But how much of that was just one-off business? All right, you built these people a fence. Well, they're not going to need another fence next year, right? So now we have to keep going out and finding new customers. That's going to be, if I'm coming into the business, I know nothing about it, that's going to be pretty difficult for me unless you have processes and procedures. So that is one of the values. Unless you have a great team that works independently without the owner, another value proposition. But also, if you have recurring revenue, if you can show me a book of business that says we have this many hundred people, they pay $39.95 a month. Every month there's always going to be a churn rate, but we have an 8% churn rate. So you can take whatever this number is, lop 8% off of it, and know if you don't find another customer next year, this is the revenue that you'll bring in. That is a massive multiplier. And you can talk about.
It's the same reason the HVAC, electrical, and plumbing companies do this cheap, low-cost membership club, because it may be $8 a month or $40 a month, whatever that number is. But when the hot water heater goes out, I've got a guy.
Yeah. $29.95.
Yeah. When the AC goes out, well, I've got a guy. We'll just call our guy. Right?
Well, no, and they'll come check that AC for you twice a year.
Yep.
Which gives them an opportunity to come and say, hey, listen, free inspection's done. I got your filter changed. I did this. But hey, while I was in there, I noticed there's a few things that we should talk about. Maybe they don't need replaced now, but next time I'm here, we should definitely think about the flux capacitor in there. It's looking like it's towards the end of its life, and here's a bid for that.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Hey, while you're, this is the magic of it. While I'm here, I actually have this part on my truck. I could swap it out. You're also not going to get charged the travel charge. Like there's all of this that goes into this, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is not the first rodeo for these folks.
Yeah, and this opens the opportunity for upsells as well for a lot of people. If you're in the backyard doing it,
Yes.
you know, hey, we clean roofs, we clean windows, we build mailboxes, we give dog baths or whatever.
Sure.
You know? And I prefer to stay in my lane, but some companies really want to take advantage of that upsell on other services.
Yeah, staining contractors that do exterior cleaning services. Love it. Hey, while I'm here, we're going to do a great job staining this fence. We're going to make it look beautiful. We're going to clean it, restore it, and make it look so good. While I'm here, while I'm cleaning that fence, though, I've already got everything I need to also clean the exterior of your house, the roof, the windows, your driveway, your sidewalk. Would it make sense if I just gave you a bid on those while I was here? The answer is yes. And okay, well, here you go. While I'm here, I've got all the stuff. We've saved a trip charge. This is all stuff that works, right? And so you started off with staining, and staining you got in the door because, again, maybe you're talking about the natural defense that a lot of people are worried about. So I think, yeah, it's all of these are great ways of adding more revenue to a fencing business by starting by adding stain and then offering upsells from there.
You got it.
And Nomad Fence says California can finish breaking off of the tectonic plate any day now. Isn't it funny? When we were kids, that was a very real talking point, was that California was just getting ready to slide off into the ocean. And Caleb, I don't know about you, but it's been a few years since I was a kid, and that hasn't happened at all.
Man, I go back sometimes and let my kids watch documentaries and things from when I was a kid. And man, they were beating us over the head with global warming.
Yes,
they were
right.
killing us with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's like, yeah, all this stuff. You go through storm drills where you get under your desk. Like, listen, I know now. Like, if that roof falls, that desk is doing absolutely nothing to help anybody. But
and now the documentaries from today, like they all start out like a regular documentary, and by the end of the documentary, the world is going to end.
Oh yeah,
if we don't change something.
Yeah, in the next 6 to 8 months, it is over.
6 to 8 months, all the lions in Africa will be dead. It's just crazy, man.
Well, and the rivers will probably run backwards, and that's after the magnetic poles flip, because that's coming up. Yep. So anyway, but if California did slide off, I don't know. As long as we evacuated everybody, okay. But not the worst. Landmark Creation says, morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Nomad Fence says, how long between bug repellent applications? Is it best to do it every month or less frequently?
So we recommend twice a year, but obviously you could do more.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a drawback to doing it more, is there?
No, it's just like stain. If you stained every year, it would be way better, but it's not necessary. So.
Yep. My fence at home, every 2 years. We stain that fence every 2 years, and it looks fantastic. Because there's a problem if the fence guy's fence doesn't look good. I really feel like that. You got to lead.
That's a big problem, Joe.
You got to lead like that. So this whole thing came to me when this is several years ago. There's a company that made accessories for Mercedes Sprinter vans. Like they made accessories for Mercedes Sprinter vans, and they're driving around in a Ford van. If your business is Mercedes Sprinter vans, you should probably drive a Mercedes Sprinter van. You know what I mean?
That's terrible. That's as bad as it gets.
Well, and then somebody in the comments said, hey, you had better have the best looking fence for you to be able to sit and lob those grenades. So I have a feeling they knew that person probably. But that was the reality, though, of, you know what? That's right, is that people recognize this stuff. I had better have the fence that everyone needs to have in my yard, and it had better look great, because that's how people judge, right? So we've got a 6-foot privacy fence. So when I moved in this neighborhood, it was shadow box only, and I hate shadow box fences more than I hate most everything in this world. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I got to get on the board. We got to make some changes. So I got on the board, that was my. I didn't tell everyone that's my goal, but that was my goal. I was like, listen, guys, as a fencing contractor, I've got to tell you, these shadow box fences, they're bad for the neighborhood. They're bad for the homeowners. They're bad for everybody because the grass grows up. It's a nightmare to maintain. You can't stain these things. Is it going to kill anybody if we switch this? If we let people build privacy? I mean, let them build shadow box, but let's have choice here, right? Like, let's lead it with choices. And like, yeah, that's. And so, of course, no, if anyone's been a member of an HOA board, it doesn't happen. It's just like a 3-month discussion. But eventually, privacy fences were approved, and I promptly left the board. I was like, this is not the place for me. HOA boards are the most thankless positions ever.
Man.
I had people wanting me to go get a kayak and go out in the pond and pull the pond pump because the fountain wasn't on. Like, folks, that is not my job. That is not. I'm not a pond person. I do not want to become a pond person. But anyway, I don't know where we were going with that.
Joe,
but
I don't know why you wouldn't just lead by example and go get the pond pump out.
No, we hired a pond company.
You see the kayak flipping over and Joe.
What am I going to do? Okay, so let's play this out. I do this.
Looks broken.
Yeah, exactly. I pull it out like, I don't know. What is a pond pump supposed to look like? This thing looks like a pond pump, I guess. I don't know. Or we could hire a pond maintenance company to come pull this thing and, what is the board for if they're not going to do anything? Like, well, you know what? That's a great question, and I'm going to answer it by leaving. You're right. I am absolutely no good here. I am done. But I say that. So this is the whole, leading by the example, having the best fence in the neighborhood. That's why we stain it every 2 years. A nice mahogany color. I love mahogany on cedar.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. Front Rock Fences says, gotta go. Thanks for the info, guys. Thank you for showing up. Divine Fence, hello. Hope everyone is having a great weekend and having an awesome season. How has business been, Joe, compared to last year? Business is phenomenal. So we talked, when did I talk about this? Probably a couple months ago, where we were actively, and we still are actively, chopping our profit and loss. We're trimming all the fat off this thing because you think about 2 months ago is when we were talking about, is there a recession coming? Is it going to be a soft landing? Is it going to be a crash landing? Is it going to be whatever? And so I said, all right, here's what we need to do. We got to start. I want the overall expenses reduced by 10%. That's what I want. Now, there are some things I absolutely understand that we can't shop. I mean, utilities, we're not cutting utilities. And we're not running the lights 10% less, right? Can't reduce the mortgage. So, it's a good thing we did start reducing expenses because our mortgage is a variable rate because it's a commercial SBA loan anyway. Reduce everything by 10% because I say, guys, so then if business does slow down, we're fine. We've already cut expenses. We can maintain our business, still remain profitable at a lower revenue number. But what if we increased revenue? What if we did the same amount or more with 10% less expenses? Well, we just became more profitable, and which means we can invest in equipment, which means we can invest in payroll, which means we can invest in a lot of different places. So let's start cutting expenses now.
From like a 10% net to 14 or 15% net. I mean, in theory.
Yep.
Which would be huge.
Which would be nice. It would be great. Yeah. So to answer your question, Divine, business is busier now. In terms of revenue, we're doing more revenue now than we did last year. Now, this is also due to a price increase. You know what I mean? This is due to several things. One, we are busier though too. But because we reduced our expenses, and we continue to do it, because we hit the 10% goal, and I was like, all right, so we can either say mission accomplished and move on, or we can continue looking. Like, are there ways that we could cut expenses? Example, we use a ton of boxes, just cardboard, because when we sell, if you buy fence fittings at ozfence.store, you're getting them in a box. Where's that box come from? Well, in the past, it's been coming from Uline because Uline had pretty good prices on boxes until we went out into the market. Well, I know.
I know this now. But we had priced them a couple other. Well, I tell you where we priced them was we priced them here in town. We priced them locally. Compared to that racket, Uline was pretty good. So, but then we started calling around to Rocket Industrials, who we use now, and so I called this guy and I got assigned to a sales rep, and he said, "Who are you buying boxes from now?" And I said, Uline, and he kind of chuckled. He goes, "You are going to love us." He goes, send me their product numbers and I will send you pricing. He goes, "I don't even want to know their pricing. I want to blow your socks off." I like the sounds of this.
Yeah, it's what you got to do, man, and,
Yeah.
and you got to go back to the table a lot. So that's the way it goes. But we're doing a similar program. We made one of, every quarter we do a quarterly planning session, and we set company priorities for certain things, and these priorities are usually sales or marketing based things or manufacturing improvements or whatever.
Sure.
But we also do a theme every quarter. What's a good theme that we can work on? Maybe it'd be geared around core values. But this quarter, we're almost finished with. But this quarter, it is basically. I always say the term, we want to fill the holes in our bucket.
Yep.
Right, we're filling our bucket up, but it's got holes in it. So, and the way we're doing that is we're saving money. So anything anybody can do that's going to identify a loss or something where we can fix to save money, and then we fix it, well, that goes in the bucket. And then anything we can do out of the ordinary to produce revenue. So let's just say we recycle buckets and we throw buckets, used buckets in the trash and recycle them. But we find somebody who will pay $1 a piece for buckets that needs them to store rabbit poop in or whatever.
Sure.
Whatever.
Sure.
Well, we've just found $500 a month, and we're no longer paying the recycling company $100 a month. So we've netted $600, right? So we're just kind of come up with little things like that, and I like what you're doing. We're doing it too.
I think it's necessary because, like I said, and we're not through this whole recession talk, right? Now listen, I had this conversation. We had Final Friday last week, and so we all got together and we were talking about. And I said, "Hey guys, let me talk about," and we talked about these jobs we're doing for these big people, and basically it went the same way we've just said. Is like I feel totally comfortable with this because the people with big money that pay close attention to this are perfectly fine with our economy. They're investing in themselves and all this. I said, guys, you have to understand, watching television is not the best source of accurate information, right? These channels now have realized that viewership is based on doom and gloom, is based on the world ends in 6 to 8 months and all this. I said, we're not seeing any of this. We're not seeing any of the slowdown. We're not seeing any of that. But we are going to plan for a what if, right? What if they're right? So it's a lot like the weatherman, right? So the weatherman's wrong 90% of the time, but that 10% he's right, he likes to tell you about it. So we could see the same thing with the economy. We got a 90% chance that it's absolutely wrong, but there's a 10% chance it could be right. So let's play the what if game, and then like that led to we are cutting costs, but we're cutting costs not out of panic, but just out of like what if.
This is just good business practice, man. Like,
yeah.
How do we see around corners? Like, why don't we sit down and we say, hey, what are the top 10 most likely dangers to our company? That could be,
SWOT analysis.
America shuts down all imports of steel from China because we go to war or something.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? And you just got to do these things. I got a book recommendation, Joe. I always make one.
Yep.
Best business book I've ever had. Listen to it and own the book.
Okay.
Because it's read by the author. It's the best, and I've passed this on to much bigger entrepreneurs than myself, and they go, "Wow."
The Road Less Stupid. Okay.
Keith J. Cunningham. He's got some other books too. I've not started this one yet. The Ultimate Blueprint for an Insanely Successful Business.
Nice.
Start with The Road Less Stupid. It is a phenomenal book.
And that's one that we're going to listen to, but also read.
make your whole team, order a box of 20 books, make your whole team, your leadership team, listen to it. And it's a good one, Joe. It's
Okay.
really, really, really good one. It'll really make you think.
Okay. I love it.
And if
I
you're
love it.
listening, Cannon Johnson,
Yeah.
Dan, Jacob Salem, Nomad Fence, Divine, everybody listen to it. That's a phenomenal book.
I almost think we should start like a fencing book club, like a fence industry book club.
And Divine Fence Company, man, we gotta get Stain over there for sale
Absolutely.
at the Fence Authority, right?
Absolutely. So I remember the first time I met. We were talking about Fence Authority. We were actually over. Where were we? We were over in Richmond. We were doing the Stain University over in Richmond, and was it? I think it was Richmond. Anyway, they said the Fence Authority, and I automatically my mind went to like the Port Authority, like a government like authority over things like. A fence authority? How does this thing work? Like, what are you talking about? Of course, everyone looked at me like I had an eyeball in the middle of my forehead. They're like, it's a fence company. Oh, got it. Okay. The Fence Authority. Okay, got it. I thought we were talking about like some government oversight agency.
Hey,
Like,
if they would just send a letter out to everybody in America that has a fence company and said, "Hey, it's $12 a month. You need to go ahead and put your ACH in here. Let's get this done."
Yep, you got to join the Fence Authority. So,
good standing member with the Fence Authority.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, let's see. Nomad Fences. Let's talk. Okay, I'm all about talking. We get calls for property line litigation every day. Oof. That's
he works at the Fence Authority also.
oh, okay,
So that's
okay,
what he's
okay.
saying. He says he gets calls for.
Okay, got it. So they're looking to the Fence Authority to solve some of these disputes.
We have an expert witness fee, $10,000
Uh-huh.
per half day.
Yep, and we've got a surveyor that we would need to send out there first. Landmark Creation says business is booming in the Northwest. I've seen more people getting multiple quotes, which is different than a few years ago. Interesting. Do you like to see that? I mean, so this is the point and we talk about this about once a month. We do these little check-ins and say, "Hey, how's business everywhere?" And Caleb, for the last 2 or 3 months, business has been booming everywhere. Yep. And this is the point: is you can watch the news, you can listen to the news, you can do all this, and they will absolutely spoon feed you doom and gloom and say there's a recession right around the corner, that everybody's going out of business, and it's because of this, that, or the other thing. And it's just not reality, right? But it's great at causing panic. It's great at causing panic. But I think we all need to take a deep breath.
I think we all just need
back.
to do what we do in our life. You know, you don't hang out with negative people. Why would you hang out with negative TV?
Right. That's it. You are a reflection of who you hang out with. So, anyway. Al Martins has the solution. It is just to install fence armor.
I agree.
That's the answer. Fence armor and post saver. I was actually talking to a guy about post savers the other day. So, great products. We like them a lot. Caleb, you got anything else? Oh, hey, how's the new building coming?
Oh, man, it's so close. Air conditioning, paint, bathrooms.
Nice.
Septic tank, I think's finished. I just jackhammered 4 feet deep with a big excavator our holes for a gate post out front.
Nice.
So I'm excited. It's coming along.
All right. Well, you're gonna have to have me out once it gets done. We'll bring the cameras with us and we'll do a walkthrough.
I plan on the Friday before the week of July 4th having a big party up there.
Okay.
So that will probably be a soft opening.
Yeah,
party.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll do that. You're invited.
It's right around the corner.
Probably not going to be at all fit your schedule, but you're certainly.
I don't know. You better believe I'm looking at the calendar right as we get off of here. Mm-hmm. So it would be. I'd like to come out there and see it. Absolutely. Yep. Well, guys, I tell you what. One last thing. I keep saying one last thing, but Al's got a good point.
That was his generation.
Yeah.
Acid rain.
and it was going to destroy the world.
The Appalachian Mountains are flat now because of acid rain.
Yep. We're living in some alternate universe now because of acid rain. But this nonsense goes on, and at some point we've got to figure out that we're not getting the greatest information. But, all right, Caleb, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, let me give one lesson I've learned. It'll
Yes, sir.
take 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All you business owners listening, the one thing I've found in common with highly successful teams is the speed at which they operate, get things done. So, for instance, Joe, if I send you an email and you wait 3 days to respond, and then I get it, and then I wait 3 days to read it, and then I send it back, and you wait a day, regarding a project or a task we need to accomplish together, a collaboration, and it takes us 3 weeks to do that. The team on the other side of the world who picks up the phone, makes the phone call, and makes all the task priorities by end of day, that project's done in a half a day, versus our 3 weeks, they will be vastly more successful than us. So it is going to be one of my probably my priority, my theme for Q3 in my company is going to be changing our language to by the end of the day. Let's get this done by the end of the day. And so we can speed up that speed at which we do business with. So we got a great idea. We want to bring a new product onto our Shopify store, change the banner. Let's just do it by the end of the day. We want to write an SOP for how we dig post holes. Let's just do it by the end of the day.
Nice.
Because I think so many times we get bogged down in let's talk about it because it's fun to talk shop.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun to talk shop, especially when you get a whole team around you that likes talking shop. But let's just do it by the end of the day.
Get it done by the end of the day. I like it. I like it a lot.
That's what I'm doing.
Speed of business.
Working on internet time.
Caleb, thank you so much.
Man, I'm glad you had me on. I appreciate it. And,
Of course.
Can't wait to do it again.
That's right. So if you guys like tuning into these, talking stain, this is something we try to do once a month. Now, like I said, last week was Memorial Day weekend, so we took the weekend off. But I do like to have Caleb on once a month just to talk about stain and answer your guys' staining and staining-related questions and see what's new at Expert Professional Wood Care Products.
For sure.
Guys, until next time, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you next week.
See ya.